such a fascinating relationship, and one of the reasons why we focus on it so much in our film is because these two women were ruling at a time when men called the shots completely, and nobody could understand Mary's position or her situation as much as Elizabeth, and vice versa.
Welcome to You Know That Scene, an original series celebrating iconic scenes in seminal cinema. The scenes are a jumping off point for a discussion between our esteemed guests, a group of makers, authors, critics, and influencers who all share one thing in common: a love of film. The theme of this week's episode is women in film. Both in front of and behind the camera, women have to fight to make work for and about themselves. When speaking about films that really paved the way for women, it's hard not to discuss the hilarious comedy Bridesmaids. It was the first movie of its kind to feature such a hilarious ensemble of women.
You know that scene where they're at her bridal shower. You can see Annie just getting more and more furious. Helen's basically taken all of her thunder. Finally, she just lets it out.
Look at the shower! Look at that cookie! Oh, you know what? That reminds me, actually. I never got a chance to try that cookie! Ooh, delicious stupid cookie! I think I'll... Ugh. Maybe it's better if I dip it in that chocolate. Oh.
The thing I think was great about Bridesmaids, and the reason why it really works, is it talked about female friendships.
They're not fighting over a man, they're fighting over each other about who really is the best friend.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. Let women be real women. I mean, you know that scene, the infamous food poisoning scene.
What did we eat? Oh, sinks are goner. What are you doing? It's coming out of me like lava.
Women are that funny, women are that raunchy. We're just now seeing the representation on screen. It seems like through all these conversations about representation, they paved the way for something else. If Bridesmaids paved a way for raunchy R comedies, I feel like the next page to that is Girls Trip.
Yes. The parallels between both iconic scenes in both iconic movies is Melissa McCarthy going #2, and then you have Jada Pinkett doing #1.
I have to pee. Look, the line is short over there. There's a long line in the bathroom here. Just go for it.
You can do it! Hey, stop taking that picture!
How much did she drink?
Both movies, I guarantee you look back in 10 years, they will still hold up.
Well, and we keep using the term real. They were allowed to be real when they were raunchy. Their conflicts were real, they weren't crafted. And I think that that really speaks to having women writing for women. We can accurately depict them and write them for other women to portray. Let's now pendulum swing away from comedy and move to a story that highlights the darker side of what women are capable of. Of course, I'm talking about Sofia Coppola's The Beguiles. This film is based on a novel, and there was already a prior film made, but what Sofia Coppola did differently is she flipped this traditionally male fantasy on its head and told the story from the perspective of the women.
Yeah, former Civil War soldier, played by Colin Farrell, is injured, taken into this home of women and nursed back to health. He's coming from a place of strength because he's using his charm to manipulate the situation, and you think that he's holding the cards.
It's the best meal I've had in a long time. Thank you, man.
Merci beaucoup.
A man being taken care of by all these women, fantasy, right? Am I right, bro? Oh. Thanks, bro. But she takes it back and she does flip the switch into the female gaze.
The brilliance to me in this film very much is when the cat gets caught in the mousetrap, where he realizes, oh no, they're coming after me.
I was so worried about you. You'll be strong again soon.
Shut up.
Can I get you anything?
Give me the key.
She would know if it went missing. You know I'd get in trouble for that.
I feel like if you look at him closely, there's a glimmer in his eyes like, maybe I can still work my charms, maybe I can still come out of this. And then the slow realization of, nope,
Sofia Coppola, I do appreciate her filmmaking, but looking at a film like Beguiled, I don't know if you could really call it a feminist film. Right. All the women do is center in on this man.
I completely agree with you, but when you look at Sofia Coppola's body of work, even though she's made some interesting and sometimes controversial choices, she has a unique point of view, she has a unique style, she's a great director, one of the best directors working today, and I did not say one of the best female directors working today. She's just a great director, period.
So we've had a lot of discussion around women who, because of their circumstances, have been working from a position where they did not have a lot of power. Let's go ahead and talk about two incredibly powerful women of history, Mary and Elizabeth in Mary Queen of Scots, which is now playing in select theaters. This film showed how their relationship, their sisterhood, or their rivalry affected not only their own lives, but the lives of their entire countries.
These two phenomenal actresses playing two very powerful characters, and you know that scene where Elizabeth is in bed with the Earl, planning out what she wants to do.
If you wed her, she is ours.
And what of us?
What us?
You, Elizabeth, and I, your Robert.
Marry the beautiful Queen of Scots, and we can control her. With Mary, you too become a prince.
If I'm noble enough for one queen, I am noble enough for another.
Often in movies, we see the men plotting and using women as the pawn. And in this one, we're kind of seeing it flipped a little bit and making the men a little bit uncomfortable.
The through line of this entire film is that they know right away who their downfall is, and it's the men, sorry. But it's, although it's a dated time period, their ideas are radical.
It's really funny too with Elizabeth and Mary when we talk about these two characters, because again, this film very much centers on their relationship. Elizabeth was practical, whereas in Mary was a lot more cunning. You know that scene where Dudley goes to Mary, he's presenting a portrait of Elizabeth, and he's also presenting himself as a potential suitor. And Mary, wiser than Elizabeth realizes, very quickly explains, not only do I know that you are her instrument, I also know that you're her lover.
We see why our cousin is so fond of the Earl. How like is it unto your mistress' face?
She sees through this plan right away, and I think he's taken aback by it, and she has both of them right there in the palm of her hand.
They're both such strong characters, but because they are women, they did have to work a whole lot harder to be taken seriously.
And that's a conversation that we're still having today. I mean,
Yeah.
it is nice to see a film where they say, I will take your opinion into consideration, but I will let you know what I decide when I've made my own decision.
One day, hopefully, we won't call it a woman's film. We won't call it a female director. It'll be just a director, and it will be just the talent.
Because in the end, it's just about stories. That's all we all want to see.
Yep.
We want to thank everyone for joining us and all of our hosts. These films are a testament to the idea that when you don't see yourself represented on screen, do it yourself. You are the author of your own story. Thanks for joining us on You Know That Scene.